of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see a full house. This is terrific. I do have one announcement. The public is invited to the presentation of the Boston Post cane to a Mr. Clarence Gogan, who is 100 years old, on Saturday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. at the Eagle House Community Senior Center. Coffee will follow the ceremony. The cane is given to the oldest recorded resident in the town of Lunenburg. The tradition of honoring the oldest resident in the community was initiated by the former Boston Post newspaper in 1909. It was a gold-headed ebony cane with the inscription, presented by the Boston Post to the oldest citizen of, and then they gave out canes to many, many towns, if not all of them. It was distributed to communities in New England, including Lunenburg, with the town's name engraved on the cane. The first local recipient was Luke Chase, for whom Chase Road is named. And through the years, the cane was passed down to subsequent honorees. For a time, the town lost track of the cane, but fortunately it was located and the tradition was revived in 1978. The cane itself is on display in the senior center, and the recipient is given a pin representing their receipt of the Boston Post cane as the oldest citizen. So that, again, is March 23rd at 2 p.m. at the senior center. Any public comment from the board? Any public comment from the public? Okay, might have a correction here.
Saturday the 24th.
It's Saturday, and the memo says the 23rd, but the calendar says the 24th. So that is Saturday the 24th at 2 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Our first appointment this evening is a hearing on liquor license violation at J&M Sports Bar at 5 Summer Street, Unit H10. Is there someone here from representing the license holder? Okay. What we will do this evening is I'll announce the ground rules. This is an official hearing. Everyone who testifies will be sworn in. The order of the proceedings will be to swear in the complainant, the town, and the license holder. The town will present testimony first. The license holder or representative or the representative's attorney will present testimony. The board will ask questions and deliberate. The board will make a finding, and the board will determine if a penalty is involved. And then notice of that decision will be issued via certified mail. So I'd like to start by asking the town's representative to come forward. Sergeant Hebert, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly and sincerely affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And while I'm swearing, would you raise your right hand? Would you give us your name, please?
Melissa Thibodeau?
Do you solemnly and sincerely affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Sergeant Hebert, would you swear yourself?
On January 10th, 2018, at approximately 2 o'clock, I was on patrol of the J&M Sports Bar parking lot. There was a vehicle running in the lot, but nobody was around.
So is this 2 p.m. or
2
a.m.?
2 a.m.
Okay.
Closing time at that night was 1 a.m.
Okay.
So I circled around the building. I could see inside that there was 2 people in there. After a couple minutes, I knocked on the door. One of them was identified as Ms. Thibodeau, and there was no alcoholic beverages on the bar. However, there was a open sparkling salsa can. It's 5% alcohol. I have a picture of it. That was on the kind of like little stoop where you would put your feet on the bar, right where she was sitting or standing. And the other gentleman had a cup in front of him, but I believe that was water. By the time they cleared out from the bar, it was after 2 o'clock. And as the owner of the property, she's supposed to be off within 60 minutes after closing. There's not supposed to be any alcohol consumed after closing time. That's initially the violation.
Ms. Thibodeau, do you have A response to that, Charlie?
Yeah, we were in there, excuse me, talking after hours, and I had told him that seltzer was not mine. He was drinking water. He was my ride home that night, that's why he was in there with me. But there wasn't, no one was drinking at that time.
We have,
What day of the week is January 10th?
It was a Monday night.
Okay. I do have some questions.
please.
According to our records, your operation hours, Monday through Saturday, are 8 a.m. to 12:45 a.m., not 1 a.m. Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay. You have had numerous violations at this location. There was a violation on August 7th of 2017, October 3rd of 2017, and now this one on January 10th, 2018. I'm very concerned with the continued violations. A liquor license is a privilege, not a right. And there are several violations, in my opinion, that have occurred. The door of the premises cannot be locked until the last patron has been exited from the premises, and I understand you said he was your ride home.
Yes.
However, he should have been outside while you were doing your lockup procedure, not in the bar. Hours of operation, you are in violation because according to your license, it's 12:45 a.m. Now, can I ask Officer Hebert a question? Sure. Officer Hebert, according to your report, Ms. Thibodeau appeared intoxicated. Can you talk about that? On what basis did you make that finding?
Based on just my speaking to her on several different occasions, and the fact that this gentleman was still there, and she indicated she was not driving, and he was giving her a ride home, kind of admitting that she was too
Okay,
drunk.
you didn't do any kind of sobriety
No,
test?
I did not.
Okay.
It was just from dealing with her in the past and her appearance and her behavior that night.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Thibodeau, had you been drinking that evening?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Mr. Lee, were you the manager on duty that evening?
Lisa
Excuse me?
Boyven. Lisa Boyven was.
So you were not, so.
No.
Okay. And is Lisa listed on your license as the manager of the establishment?
I know that I don't know if she's listed as the manager or not. I know, she has her tips, and she's a registered bartender there.
Were you on duty that evening?
No.
So I'm confused. If you were in the bar after closing, who was on duty? Who was performing the closeout process?
Lisa did the closeout process.
But yet you were in the bar?
I was in the bar.
Okay, well, that to me is a very serious violation. There should be no one in the bar after the bar has been closed and the manager in charge has left the premises. Can the town manager outline our options?
Yes. So, under the letter with the violation history, you'll see the liquor license
Okay.
sentencing guidelines. So the first offense, warning to 7-day suspension, which the board at the last hearing issued a 3-day suspension. So this would qualify as second offense. So that's a warning to 21-day suspension.
We did not have a hearing on the August 7th violation?
Yes, it was held on October 3rd.
Okay, so the violation occurred on August 7th, the hearing was held on October 3rd?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So this is the second event?
Not a violation, and there was a penalty assessed.
Okay, okay. So according to the rules and regulations, and can you outline your role? Are you the manager?
I'm the owner.
You are the owner?
Yes.
Okay. Have you read the liquor regulations?
When I applied for the license, yes.
Okay. So, Section 1.04B says the rules for employees on premises after closing hours are as follows. Owners and employees must be off the premises no later than 60 minutes after the official closing hour. Provided, however, that such owners and employees or other hired personnel may be on the premises at any time for cleaning, making emergency repairs, providing security for the premises, or preparing food. Now, it's my understanding none of those activities were occurring. You were sitting at the bar.
We were, at that time, yes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen find that a violation has occurred.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Board has determined the violation has occurred. Is there any recommendation as to a penalty?
So the last penalty was a 3-day suspension. I believe a suspension is in order, and I feel because this is the second violation in a relatively short period of time, that raises my level of concern. I think it should be more than 3 days, certainly not at the 21 days that we would be allowed. So I would be open to suggestions from other board members. I think it should be more than 3, but not the maximum of 21.
Would 7 seem reasonable?
I could support 7.
7 seems fine.
I would make a motion that we suspend the liquor license at the establishment of J&M Sports Bar for 7 days.
And I think we need to do a date certain.
Right, we have to go to the ABCC, or the appeal process, so what is the earliest date?
I would use 30 days.
30 days.
30 days out.
7 days anytime after the 6th of April.
So Sunday, April 8th to Saturday, the 14th.
That sounds great. So I would amend my motion to include the suspension dates of April 8th to Saturday, April 14th.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, you'll receive a notification of that in the mail.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a 7:10 appointment for the 7th grade Genius Hour project presentation, and we're all looking forward to this. We have several young citizens that are going to present to us. I just ask you to please tell us your name and lead us through what you're going to do with us this evening.
Hello, I'm Griffin Cayozzo. I'm
might
here
need to
to
raise the
tell
mic.
you.
Could we just raise the microphone so you can make sure you've...
Damon.
Use your outside voice.
Oh, sorry. Oh, how do I raise this?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Before I start, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you. We've spent much time on this during school. Yes. Out of today, we're seeking location for a spot to put a skate park in the town of Lunenburg. Some background about us. We are all new skateboarders with no appropriate place to skate. We got together during a program our school is holding this year called Genius Hour, which is where you give a group of kids an hour a week to work on anything they would like. At the end of the year, they could create something amazing. We've taken that time to create this. Next slide. Why is this necessary? As of now, there is no appropriate place to skate. Skateboarding on the streets is much more dangerous than skateboarding in a skate park. This would be a low maintenance facility, so you wouldn't have to take much care of it if it was built correctly. It could serve as an attraction to the town, and it encourages positive activities. Next slide. How did we get here? 20 years ago, people just like us tried this and succeeded. It was built using in-kind donations, which ended up being an asphalt pad with wooden ramps, and it didn't weather well and is now in a state of unusable conditions.
My name is Jonah Salvatore. So we did some brief online research, and we determined that of the roughly 10,000 people in Lunenburg, about a third of that are under the age of 24, which is the age which we would think would use the skate park the most. Problem with, and we also believe that there are hundreds of skateboarders in Lunenburg, but since most of them are under the age of 24, they cannot drive themselves to other skate parks, and the nearest of which being 25 minutes away. So we wanted one in Lunenburg so it could be centrally located, which would enable someone to walk to it just after school without having a parent to drive them there. We also made an online survey to gauge the town's interest in this. We've had over 400 responses, more than 100 of which are in favor of this project, and 90% said they would use it, or 90% were in favor of this project. Over 100 respondents said they would use it in a little bit of a week, and 70% of those were over the age of 18, so it was not just kids taking this.
Hello, my name is Ann Swift, and I'm here to talk to you about the location of our skate park. The first option we thought of was Marshall Park, where the previous skate park was built. As you can see, there are many trees covering it, which means that we would have to clear out some of the area. But it is easily accessible, and to the bottom right of that image and the top left, there is parking. Next slide. The next place we thought of was behind TC Pasio's at a gravel parking lot, which is a flat area, and to the bottom right and the top right there is accessible parking, and we were thinking maybe if people would need that parking lot, we could push that circle to the back to the left a little bit more. Next slide. The next place we thought of was next to Kids Kingdom, which is easily accessible, is near the teen center, which means many people would be able to use it after school or whenever. Is easily accessible and essentially located. The final option is next to Turf Field, which there's parking at the top right, and there's a road going through at the top or bottom left, and is a centrally located area with an existing play area to the right of it.
Hi, my name is Mason Whitcomb, and when constructing our skate park, we had to take in consideration the materials and options that we could have used. The first option that we thought of was poured concrete. Poured concrete is the strongest by far option that we could build our skate park out of. This option will last for around 30 years and requires minimal repair. The second option we had on the bottom left is a prefab concrete slab. On the concrete slab, they would have more concrete ramps. These ramps are not cemented to the slab, so they weather easily and they don't last for as long, with a lifespan of around 20 years. In the top right, our third option was an asphalt pad with metal ramps. These metal ramps can dent and have sharp edges, leading to dangerous accidents. And the asphalt pad is a dangerous place for skaters to fall because it is rough. On the bottom right is a concrete pad with wooden ramps. This is similar to what Marshall Park was made out of. Marshall Park, as you know, this option would last for around 3 to 5 years. It erodes easily and decays fast. I'm sure you're wondering where we've been and where we're trying to go with this project. As you know, we started as a group of boys with a common problem of not having a safe place to skate. So we came together through our school's project of Genius Hour, and we decided to put together a slide deck that we presented to the Parks Commission. The Parks Commission couldn't do too many things for us because a lot of the locations we had were on school property, and they did not have control over. So now, after we gain our permission and a plot of land to find, we will then start fundraising our money and finally begin to build our skate park. Some more demographics we had is because Lunenburg has a population of around 10,000 residents, this puts us on the upper end of a skate spot. A skate spot is for a town with around 3,000 to 5,000 residents, and a skate park is has around 25,000 residents. This puts us on the upper end of a skate spot. When we went to different skate parks, we found that it was around 250 square feet that we felt safe per rider. Due to the results to our survey and responses that we've gotten, we anticipate around 30 riders at one time to be our max load. This leaves our skate park with 7,500 square feet.
Hello, my name is Christopher Roy. We looked around at other skate parks around the area, and one of the ones we found was Andover. Andover is made out of the poured concrete that we like. It's a larger skate park for a larger town, and it supports all the people that use it. It has parking next to it, and it has a baseball field behind it. Next slide. One of the ones we disliked was Hoycomb. Hoycomb is only for more advanced riders. There's nothing a beginner could really do there. It's just 2 dual bowls. But what we did like about it was the poured concrete it's made out of, and it's built into a hill with parking next to it. We favored Hampton because there's a bowl right in front with ramps and rails behind it. The bowl supports more advanced riders, and the ramps and flat areas support beginners if they just want to ride around. And there's parking lot near it, and there's an open field and existing lighting. We were excited about Gardner at first because it looks like a good spot to skate because there's a bowl like the other ones, and there's flat area to skate. But when we got there, however, we realized that it was too small for the people that used it. And the only place you could really skate was around the sides where they put asphalt. But even then, there was nothing you could really do there. We found 2 online possible skate park designs. The 2 on the left were both made out of poured concrete, and they support beginner and advanced with the flat area and the ramps. And then on the far right, it had a concrete base that we liked, but the wooden and metal ramps that it had would decay easily and they wouldn't weather well. Yeah.
My name is Aiden Moore. We know that to build the skate park from beginning to end, it will take 2 years. We are in the first half of 2018, and we are going to gain town approval, and we are going to get a location to skate, or build our skate park. The second half of 2018, we are going to fundraise and get all the money needed to complete this project. Next, we will break ground, and we are going to start the project, and then 6 months later, we are going to complete the project and have people skating on it. How will we get all the money needed to build the skate park? As you can see, we've thought of many options to fundraise all the money needed. Some that we especially like 2 options, and those were a bike race and a poker tournament. We like the color run / bike race, but, so we like the bike race and color run because we know that people in the area like that sort of things and they like to be out and active. So we think that could raise a lot of money and have a lot of people come to it. We like the poker tournament because we know somebody who sets them up for the teen center and does them 4 times a year. So he is very good at it, and we think we could get a lot of people to come out, and we think we could raise a lot of money with that. So we had some questions or issues we were wondering about, and these are for you. So we need a location. Yeah, we just need a location, and whichever one you favor the most, we think that's a great idea. We are also wondering about a toll booth date to fundraise for this project. And we had we were wondering about insurance. Every representative from other towns we talked to have a skate at your own risk policy. They don't have a special insurance policy that covers just skate parks. But we were wondering if you had any ideas on that. And then we had some funding ideas. We were wondering if you thought of any ways to gain money and help us out with this project. And then and anything else you think it would be necessary for us to know, you can tell us now. And at this portion of time, any questions that you may have, you can tell us now.
Are there any questions from the board? Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I want to also congratulate you. You guys have obviously put a lot of research and time and work into this project, and you've done a fantastic job, so I applaud your work. And I think the community will benefit from this over time. My son doesn't skateboard anymore, but I remember when he was a teenager, there was no place to skateboard, so I applaud you coming forward. You did go to the park commission, you mentioned. Have you also gone to the school committee?
We have not. We're gonna go tomorrow, but it got postponed because of the snowstorm coming up.
Okay. And the response, when you talked about Marshall Park with the park commission, what was their reaction?
Well,
They couldn't give us a solid answer on if they thought it was a good idea or not, because at the same time, they are building a parking lot and road down there, so they couldn't really give us a solid answer.
Okay, is that in the same location of where you're proposing the skate park, or is it in a different area?
Same place.
It's the same place. So they're proposing to construct a parking lot there, which is where you guys want to put the skate park?
Sorry, guys. Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anthony Cayozzo, 1091 Mass Ave. So we did meet with the Parks Committee, and they thought this was a fantastic idea. They have, as you know, limited land, limited resources. The only plot in question of the 4 that the boys thought might be a good idea, and they really were honest that really whatever you guys think, when you decide with the school committee and the Parks Committee, that is the best location, it works for them. Okay, so they want to work with you. But the Parks Committee was very specifically unable to say, yes, go forward or not, because they wanted us to go, do the rounds, right? And so we could make it a uniform, educated decision together.
Okay, but did
their
they
initial response was, solid idea.
Okay, did they talk about the parking lot location in relationship to where this skate park would go?
Yeah, there still is some question over where the parking lot will start and end.
Okay.
But quite honestly, looking at how other towns have built their parks, looking at the feedback that these boys have received from other towns, both in person, we've traveled around, we met with other representatives from other towns face to face, but also online, over the phone. They couldn't be any more specific with keep it in a public, viewable, open, accessible location.
Okay,
and that really is the least accessible location.
Okay.
So that's, if you were to ask them, put them in a corner and say, which is your favorite, Marshall Park would be dead bottom.
Okay.
Dead last.
So that's the next question. Do you guys, I know you'd be fine with any place, but do you have a priority list?
Yeah, why don't you guys?
We don't necessarily have a priority list, but we think that the location next to the Kids Kingdom would be the best.
Okay, so between the TCP and the Kids Kingdom, in that grassy area there, not behind the TCP, but in the grass area between the playground and the school?
Correct.
Okay.
Also, another location that we really favored was the one in between the Turkey Hill Elementary and high school in the little pocket, because we think it would be a good idea to construct a skate park into the hill.
Using the land.
And use the land, but yeah, that would make sense.
So the property near the Kids Kingdom is school property. The property by the turf field is school property as well. The one that's under our jurisdiction would be behind the TC Passios.
Yeah.
And we sort of give you a similar answer to what the parks did, is that the town's considering what they're going to do with the TC Passios. And we certainly don't want to build something that might have to get moved later, but at the same time, we don't have any specific plans for that at this point. I'll echo the other comments and what the park department, I think this is an excellent idea. You've done the right work, reaching out to the town officials. I support what you're trying to do.
I'd like to hear from the police chief on what kind of public safety presence would be required.
Chief, would you want to weigh in?
I'm sorry, Phyllis, I didn't hear your comment.
I'm just thinking about the effect on public safety, how much of a presence do you think would be required?
Well, that's always really difficult to
I know
say,
it's a
but
tough question.
Well, let me say this, I'd prefer the locations that they seem to like the best, I think it would
Most
work-
open, for sure.
Work better on, someplace that's wide open where, there's a view from the public. Not only that, from a safety standpoint, if somebody got hurt there, obviously we want to get to them right away, which was a problem down at Marshall Park because it was so secluded back in that grove. Many times there was kids down there we didn't even know they were there. Out in the open's a good idea. As far as predicting what impact it's going to have on public safety, that would be difficult. I suppose, obviously, it should come with a set of guidelines and so forth. So. But
Can you require that they wear helmets?
yeah, it seemed to me the last time this issue came up about 20 years ago, we did some research, and one of the towns, I believe, enacted a bylaw for those kind of, for guidance purposes, helmets and so on and so forth. So, I'd have to, that was a long time ago. I'd have to research that issue, but I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Thank you.
And certainly for the town's insurance, skate at your own risk makes sense to an extent, but the town is always liable if it doesn't do something it should be doing. So as you've tried to do, is to have whatever you come up with for a park that requires the least amount of maintenance, that it actually continues to be operating safely. That's what we would want to do, because that's what, in a claim against the town, they would say, is the town properly taking care of the property?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the case of an emergency, we got this idea from the survey, and we were thinking of putting in a police call box so we can get help immediately, and it would make it a lot more safe or secure.
So I think they've presented a very good project, and I think that doing the concrete pour, as you've recommended, is definitely the best option. One of the questions I have is you outlined some costs based on other projects you've done, and it ranged anywhere from $40,000 up to $250,000 in Gardner, which is the one you didn't like. So do you guys have any idea of what your ballpark your target goal is for this project?
Well, it depends on the location. for the size of this and the cost of the material and where you put it.
Okay, so you had suggested 7,500 square feet as your recommendation. Do all of these places fit that requirement, or they don't?
I believe they do.
They do, okay.
Every single one except Marshall Park fits the location. With some clearing, it would fit.
Okay, so given what's been said about Marshall Park, I'm not sure that that's a viable option. I think the three that you've talked about, next to the turf field, next to Kids Kingdom, and behind Passios, are the best options. But as Mr. Ebersol said, two of those locations are under the school jurisdiction. The only one that is under our jurisdiction is behind Passios. So I am hoping that the school committee is amenable to this and will support it, because I certainly think it is a project that makes sense, and I would like to see it go forward.
I have a question about lighting. Are you planning on having lighting?
So, what other parks have done in terms of lighting, if you have lighting, then it encourages people to be skating at night, and that normally isn't what you want. So if you were to put in no lights, then it'd be like a natural timer. So when the sun comes up, you can go. When the sun goes down, you have to stop. So it's more of like a natural timer.
So then it's available from sunrise to sunset?
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Are there any other locations that you think that we should put in? And how will we get you to think that this is a good idea?
So I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen go on record in support of the skate park location to be determined within those three sites.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion? I think
I guess we just really have to make sure we understand the liability and that we're doing everything we need to do just to protect the town.
I think it's an excellent presentation. I think it covers a lot of the components that certainly you boys and whoever leads the project through construction need to consider. It also involves things that the town needs to consider. My preference would be if a location is selected, that we do whatever it takes to transfer the responsibility of that location to the Parks Commission, because this seems like a parks activity. In terms of fundraising, I see there's certain things on that list that are clearly within the selectmen's responsibility. I would have no objection to, fundraising through normal roadblocks, et cetera. I think that as all of our parks activity, certainly you'd want to be sponsored through the Capital Planning Committee to have it on their agenda at the very least. I don't know where it would fall in terms of priorities, but I think what Mr. Ebersol just motioned is that we're in principle, the selectmen support this. And I think I'd like to take it one step further and say that and it sounds like you're well on your way to getting the support of the parks and school, we'll work with them to do whatever it takes to cooperate and answer some of those questions.
Right. I'd add that I think we're all kind of committed to helping you find the right spot to put it in. The next step, I think, even before you go to capital planning, is to engage some type of design work and cost estimating, so capital planning can assign a value to what you're going to need.
So I have a motion and a second in support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good work.
Okay.
And we had one more thing to say. We were wondering which one of you will be our first $1,000 donor.
Very good.
Very good.
Speak on behalf of the school committee.
Sure.
Thank you. Dawn Marie Ailes, 711 Flat Hill Road. Our meeting, unfortunately, is canceled for tomorrow night, where we were supposed to hear this presentation, so I'm here to represent the school committee. Fantastic job. The only question I have is just about the location of those two places, and is it more expensive for you to build a skate park on flat land than into that hill? So if that's something that you can think about and get back to us, that would be great, but I just wanted to assure them and you that the school committee will get the report of this, this presentation. So thank you, guys.
And I would say that in about 15 years, we're going to be tapping each of you to be volunteers for the town.
Absolutely.
Finance committee included. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's true. That's true.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to our interviews, appointments, reappointments, resignations. There is a appointment by the town manager.
Yes. Before you is a recommendation to ratify the appointment of Cameron Monroe for a reserve police officer. And Chief Marino is here tonight to speak about this appointment.
Good evening, once again. This is a very hard act to follow. With respect to the skate park, I'll do some research and see what, if any, impact there is with respect to public safety. Okay. I'm in front of you again tonight, asking you to appoint Cameron Monroe as a reserve police officer. Cameron completed the Municipal Police Training Committee's 315-hour reserve intermittent academy at West Boylston, passed the required employee physical and agility test, and an extensive background test. Cameron's a lifelong resident of Lunenburg, a graduate of Lunenburg High School. He holds an associate's degree in criminal justice, which he earned at Mount Wachusett Community College. He served as an intern with us at the Lunenburg Police Department while attending Mount Wachusett Community College. As he served as an intern, it gave the department ample opportunity to evaluate him. Excuse me. If appointed, he'll be required to go and undergo a rigorous field training program which will allow for further evaluation. The evaluation process as he proceeds to the reserve field training program provides our personnel with an accurate assessment of his competency, work ethic, interpersonal skills, integrity, and honesty. Cameron is a kind, likable young man who exhibits a strong work ethic and who has a keen interest in pursuing a full-time career in law enforcement, and I highly recommend him for this job. With his educational background and training that he's already had and will continue to receive, I believe that he's a really strong candidate. Again, I can't get away from this fact that we're bringing kids in from Lunenburg, residents, high school graduates from Lunenburg High School, interns who intern for us. We really get to know him. I met him. Well, he played football for Lunenburg High, so my son was a junior to him, but on the same team. But I first really encountered him when my wife and I went to buy a Christmas tree down at Pierce's, and we left there, and we just couldn't say enough about him. Nice things about this kid, how he helped us and cut the tree down for us, and just his way was great. And then he shows up at the station as an intern, so I was kind of happy to see that, and happy to see that he was interested in law enforcement. And Cameron, so here he is.
I'd make a motion, we ratify the town manager's appointment of Cameron Monroe for reserve police officer.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to comment that we continue to be impressed with the chief's process of building a pipeline of excellent reserve officers that work their way to be full-time officers, and very proud of our police department.
Thank you for saying that. And, the problem, the unintended consequence of this is everybody else wants these people after we get done training. I've already lost 5 in the last 5 years to other police departments. All been successful, and as you know, recently I lost 11-7 shift officer, full-time officer, was just outstanding personnel, and it was hard to see him go, but, you know, he had an opportunity where he could work closer to where his wife worked, and they're talking about moving there, and so he wanted to work on a bigger department with more diversity too, so, you know, that's a thing. Young guy. I can't say I blame him, but, you know, these are the challenges sometimes, you know, keeping people. And I just want to say, while we're talking about this, you know, there's been an outpouring of support for the police and fire departments lately, you know, and the fire chief and I, you know, we spoke about this a lot today, and, you know, and this is for the public, we really appreciate beyond words the support that we've been getting lately. You know, with respect to all of our, you know, requests for increasing the size of both departments and, you know, trying to get up here to, you know, today's standards. But the public has to realize while we do that, how complicated balancing a budget is. And, you know, we know that better than anybody. And although, you know, I stand up and I complain that we don't have enough help, and I'm going to continue to complain about that because it's true, and I've got information that backs that up, and we all know that, and I know you all know that and support that fact. However, we have a plan. I hope we stick with it for the next 10 years. I think that's the easiest way. It doesn't burden the taxpayers. If we were to hire 19 people right now or 18 people right now, we'd all be eating ramen for a few years. And I'm talking about the people of Lunenburg, and I'm one of them. I'm a taxpayer as well. So I think, you know, I think the public has to know that balancing this budget, a town like this, is complicated. And you know, we have schools, we have DPW, and public safety. So the support is great, but what I would ask them to do is please support us through the next several years, and way beyond my tenure. This whole problem will definitely transcend my tenure here as a police chief, because I'll have to leave in 2 years. I'll be 65 years old, and the state says that I'm mandated to retire. So I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you very much for your support and getting the support of the public. And you know, we're doing better. We got a school resource officer. That's a big thing. Hopefully he'll be a big help to you guys in the future here, in the near future. So thank you very much.
Well, Chief, you know, the support that public safety receives is well-deserved. You both do a great job, and we're very proud of the work that you do.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Officer Monroe.
Thank you.
Next agenda item is the town manager report.
Just a note, on the agenda is an appointment for a full-time police officer.
Okay.
Just note that on the agenda is an appointment for a full-time police officer. That will be postponed until the March 20th meeting. So I have a number of things to report on tonight, so bear with me. The town facilities, the property condition assessment for Eagle House has been received and circulated to the Board of Selectmen, Capital Planning Committee, and Finance Committee. It has been posted on the town website under Public Notices section titled Town Facilities Information. The property condition assessment for Turkey Hill Elementary School is being finalized and will be available by the end of the week. Town Hall. The DPW director coordinated the cleaning of the ductwork for the HVAC system at Town Hall on Friday, March 2nd. This included removing all the registers, running nylon bristle brushing tools, and high-pressure compressed air snakes to sweep and dislodge any debris throughout the entire system that was then vacuumed up by a high-powered vacuum truck. This was one of the recommendations in the air quality report issued last March. The DPW director has also lined up removal of the remaining records in the town hall attic, and these will be moved to a designated room at TC Passios. And this, due to the storm, has been postponed till next Friday, March 16th. Records that have been approved by the state for destruction will be put into a dumpster.
Are they going to be shredded?
Those will be incinerated.
Okay.
Parks Commission update. I attended the Parks Commission meeting last night, March 5th, regarding the following topics. Wallace Park. Chris Letarte of the Friends of Wallace Park Group came before the Parks Commission to discuss the proposed equipment to be installed at Wallace Park utilizing the $37,000 town appropriation figure as well as the $25,000 in donations received by the Lions Club. The Parks Commission approved the design and purchase of the equipment after receipt of 2 more quotes. I will work with Mr. Letarte to ensure we satisfy state procurement requirements and can proceed in a timely manner to meet their goal of installing the equipment by April or May. The Lions Club and the Wallace Park Community Group will be looking for volunteers during the installation and other phases to complete the cleanup of Wallace Park.
You know, I was there the other day. Are they going to take any more trees down, do you know?
They do plan on removing more trees in the back area.
Okay, well, will the DPW take care of that, or?
They'll be assisting with the removal.
And on what other
A tree
kinds of?
removal
I
company.
mean, it looks so much better than it did. Do you know what else they're going to be doing as part of the cleanup?
There's more sand. There's a berm of sand that needs to be fixed for drainage purposes. Cleanup of the basketball court, I believe, and I think eventually the fence will be repaired as well.
Great.
But it's multiple
much
phases
better.
to this project.
Right, it looks so much better. Yikes. Good for them.
Earth Day, Kim Mayhew of the local 4-H group came before the Parks Commission to discuss use of Wallace Park on April 22nd for an Earth Day event. Due to limited parking at that location and the expected number of people that they would anticipate, I offered to work with Ms. Mayhew on holding the event on Memorial Drive through coordination with police, fire, DPW, and requesting the opening of one of the town buildings for access to restrooms. All proceeds from this event would be put into the 4-H Parks Improvement Budget to be donated to Lunenburg Parks. This item will come before the board at the March 20th meeting. Capital plan for Parks Properties. One of the reasons I attended their meeting was to discuss the Parks Commission operating budget that is under the DPW's. The DPW director and I discussed the inclusion of projects into the town's 5-year capital plan. The Parks Commission will work on creating a 5-year plan that can be included in next year's capital planning process. A workshop with the Board of Selectmen on Parks Properties. Related to the Selectmen and Town Manager's goal of creating an infrastructure plan, we discussed a joint meeting of the Selectmen and Parks Commission. This workshop would be used to discuss the status of the parks, the maintenance and upkeep plan, and any future plans the Parks Commission may have for parks properties. The time frame for this meeting could be as early as April or May. They're in the midst of baseball season right now, so they're busy dealing with that. An update about green communities. I attended the Green Communities Task Force meeting last Tuesday, February 27th, regarding the following topics. Competitive Green Communities grant application. The Green Communities Task Force reviewed the finalized list of projects for the Competitive Green Communities grant with Montechusett Regional Planning Principal Planner Karen Chapman, who is preparing the grant application through funds we received as part of a Department of Energy Resources grant. The results of different energy audits for Turkey Hill Elementary and other town buildings shaped the project list for this grant application. The grant application will include the following projects: an envelope tightening at Turkey Hill Elementary, an interior lighting retrofit at Turkey Hill, Town Hall, the Ritter Building, and the Public Safety Building, installation of a heat pump system at the Ritter Building, installation of condensing boilers at the Ritter Building, pipe and fitting installation at the Public Safety Building, and building retro commissioning and electronically communicated motors at the Public Safety Building, as well as up to 10% of the total grant request for administration services. Excluding the administration services, the total grant request is approximately $200,000 and will be submitted by the deadline of March 9th.
So what are electronically commutated motors?
Good question. I have the report if you're interested in seeing
I'm
the
just wondering.
information. It's, I believe.
I mean, the
it's-
public safety building isn't that old, so.
I believe it's the fans that are located in the motors, and they're motor magnetic fans instead of the current.
And I think what he can do is that you can ramp up the speed, and you do the speed based on the need of the heat. So very cold, it's faster, not so cold outside, less.
Just a technological improvement.
Hmm.
Because the building's not that old, so it seems funny that they're already doing it.
That would have been more expensive at the time, and they may not have purchased that option.
Evidently not.
So all
Okay,
this
thanks.
falls under green community, so my assumption is that this work is all energy saving or
Yes.
something of that nature. Does the work in like the Ritter and the Turkey Hill and Town Hall, does it dovetail at all with the building assessment survey? I mean, does it address any of the issues we have?
The condensing boilers, I believe,
Right.
may.
The heat pump and the condensing
Yeah.
boilers are the two that jumped off the
Right.
page.
Right.
I don't need an answer, just
Okay.
do they should coordinate, and we should know if it's helping any of the problems we saw on
Yes.
the other thing, right?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm chair of the committee.
Sure.
Hi, Greg Bittner, 129 Pleasant Street. I'm also the vice chair of the Green Communities Task Force.
Thank you.
So basically this year, the grant, all the stuff we did was through the audits that we had done, but in anticipation of the audits that you guys had done, we're looking forward to trying to incorporate some of our funds to accommodate some of the needs in your audits. And also the street light, bless you, the street light buyback is something that I don't know if you had
I'm getting
mentioned,
to
but we can work ahead of time now in anticipation of those things, so.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. The next item at the Green Communities Task Force meeting was discussion about conversion of streetlights to LED. So they've had previous discussions inquiring about the cost of converting the streetlights to LED. I invited John DiNapoli, our Municipal and Community Service Manager from Unitil, to explain the process for requesting the purchase price of streetlights. The two available options for converting streetlights to LED are: one, the town could purchase the existing streetlights at a price determined by Unitil that takes into account the total asset cost of the lights minus the accumulated depreciation value. We would be required to go out to bid to have a third party install new LED lights, which after installation, the town would be responsible to maintain. The town would achieve energy savings and no longer pay the luminaire fee to Unitil, but we would need to pay a third party for maintenance and replacement of any new fixtures. The second option, Unitil could provide the cost of having Unitil install new LED lights that they would maintain. The cost for Unitil to convert them would take into account the asset cost of the lights minus the accumulated depreciation value, the labor cost to remove the old light and install the new light. The cost does not include the cost of a new fixture. The town would achieve energy savings but would continue to pay a luminaire fee to Unitil for the maintenance and cost of the light. In 2013, Town Manager Carrie Spidel requested the purchase price, and at that point in time, it was $55,967 for 323 streetlights. We currently have 335 streetlights, and I have sent the required letter to Unitil to request the purchase price for both alternatives and should have a response in 2 to 3 weeks.
When do you think this would happen?
First, we need to get the actual cost, and then we would look at whether we would bring it to the town for funding, or we could apply for next, if we finish our projects for the competitive round, apply for funding for next year.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you also, you talked about the possibility of outsourcing the service. Do you know any other communities that currently do that, and do you have an estimated cost for that?
There are a number of communities.
So when we talk,
Fitchburg is going through it right now.
Okay.
And they're a customer of Unitil, so.
So that'll be part of your review, the
When we talk
cost
about
to
it
operate.
again, is the cost, the
So we need to
maintenance
look
and
at
the
the
service.
cost-benefit analysis, the two options.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's included, because obviously it's not just the purchase of the
Right.
lights, it's
No.
the ongoing service. Okay.
Maintenance.
Exactly.
And looking at the total savings for
Right.
either option as
Right.
well. The Business Town Partnership Meeting, Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, Planning and Development Director John Hume, Principal Planner Karen Chapman, Land Use Director Adam Burney, and I held a meeting on Monday, February 26th, to review the recommendations made by Montechusett Regional Planning Commission in the report titled Formation of a Business Town Partnership. We discussed the next steps, which include creating a business brochure that can be circulated online and in hard copy format to promote our local businesses and recreational resources, as well as creating a permanent guidebook. Discussion included adding an implementation and time schedule of when each of the recommendations could be accomplished and by whom. I have amended the most recent request for district local technical assistance to include this be performed by MRPC in addition to the brochure and permanent guidebook. Among the attendees were Christy Myla of Senator Tran's office and Beth Lindstrom, a candidate for U.S. Senate, and who is also a business owner in Groton, who belongs to the Groton Business Association. Ms. Lindstrom put me in touch with the Groton Business Association, and I have invited them as well as the Townsend Business Association to attend the next Business Town Partnership meeting on Monday, March 19th at 6:30 p.m. in the library. The first half of the meeting will be amongst the Lunenburg business owners to discuss forming an association and other ways to promote local businesses, and the second half will be to begin a discussion on the development of the business brochure, as well as any invited guest speakers. Child care during annual town meeting. In an effort to increase attendance at the May annual town meeting, I reached out to Superintendent Combs to inquire about offering childcare during the meeting. In the past, the Extended Day Program and the National Honor Society have lined up childcare for various meetings, and we are in discussions about the logistics. I will update the board and advertise the availability if the option is feasible.
I think that would be fantastic, if we can make that happen.
We did that in the town that I lived in when my kids were young, and, you know, like, maybe they can't go if they're younger than, like, 3 or 4, you know, but still, it was a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm. I think especially it would be helpful for our fall town meeting, which is in the evening. Sunday, a Saturday meeting, I would hope people would take advantage as well, but especially in the fall, if we can do it then.
It's a great idea, it really is. It worked out very well in the town that I was in.
And I think that, you know, if we can offer it in May, that's fantastic, because Saturdays are tough, and you know, you want, either one parent has to go and stay with the kids, and one parent can go to the meeting, but it would be great if we can get more parents to the meeting. So I think it would be a great idea.
Department updates. At our monthly department head meeting, the following topics and updates were given. Motor vehicle excise bills, over 11,000 bills for 2018. Motor vehicle excise taxes were sent, and the last commitment for 2017 were sent out on February 27th, totaling $1,359,899. This is an increase over the previous fiscal year by $42,996. The town treasurer collector has begun the process to proceed with the tax title assignment auction. Currently, there are a total of 33 properties that were given a 30-day notification of the tax title auction, and the town does not receive, if the town does not receive payment in full or tax payment plan is not made with the treasurer collector by the end of the 30 days, the town can proceed with auctioning off the tax title. The reassignment of the tax title will pay all delinquent taxes and fees owed on the property and will be kept current on any new taxes. The date of the tax title assignment auction is April 4th at 10 a.m. in this meeting room, Joseph Bellata Meeting Room.
Question on this? We had talked about this in the past, and Mylene came in and we had a whole discussion. Is this the same properties or is this a new list of properties?
This excludes the properties the board identified.
Okay, so this is the same list excluding the properties that the board identified?
Correct.
Okay, so this isn't new 33 properties. These are
No.
the ones we've already sent to planning and conservation?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The website update, the IT director and myself have been working on the design elements with QSEN, and the design phase for the website is now complete. We are now in the build-out phase. So due to some changes in the design, the timeframe for completion is now the end of March, beginning of April. Update on e-permitting. The land use director has been working on moving towards going live internally with various departments that will be using the e-permitting software. It is estimated to be ready to be released internally within the next few weeks and hopefully go live for external users by the end of May. The position descriptions for town employees. The payroll and benefits coordinator has been requested to work with all department heads to do an annual review of position descriptions. Any updates would be approved by the town manager and presented to the personnel committee.
Mr. Chairman? On this topic, as you all know, in the audit, one of the things that was identified is the need to document what each position does, and I'm assuming this would not include that. This is just going to be a general overview. But I would hope that before the next budget cycle, we look at the cost of doing that, because I think it is really important that we at least identify the cost and either try to formulate it into the budget or, look for alternative funding. But it's important that we have some type of manual so that if somebody is not available any longer, that someone can pick up and know what needs to be done. So I think it's an important issue, and I hope it's something that we address in the near future.
I agree, it's important, especially with limited staff.
Right.
Performance evaluations. Department heads were notified that I am currently working on drafting performance evaluations for management and non-management personnel that will be used in the near future. Implementation of performance evaluations will have to abide by any collective bargaining provisions and with proper notification.
And in some ways, you kind of need a set. You have to know what these people are supposed to do, and so that's part of the finding out, right, recording what people do, because what are you evaluating them on if you don't know what they do?
But the department heads know what they're evaluating them on. I mean, the department heads, and that's why working with the department heads to draft the performance evaluations, I granted we may tweak them after we do the job descriptions, but I think it's important, and I'm really happy to see we're moving forward with performance evaluations. And, I'm sure they'll change over the course of the next several years, but certainly I would think that the department heads know, and obviously there's a general sense of, meets, or, performs expected tasks, arrives to work on time, uses, time wise. I mean, there's general categories, and as we move towards actual job descriptions, but the department heads are working on goals and objectives. And so I'm assuming that when they do their evaluations, they'll incorporate those goals and objectives.
Yeah, because you need to know what they're supposed to do to evaluate them on what they do.
Right. But let's hope that all the department heads know what they do.
DPW union negotiations. The DPW union representatives, Labor Council, DPW director, and I we're supposed to have our first scheduled meeting this Thursday. I believe it will be postponed, but we'll be setting up a backup date soon. So the first session is just to review ground rules anyways, but I would like to meet with the board on March 20th to review proposals to be made at subsequent sessions.
You know, I have an issue about the whole payroll issue. Do we have in the budget anticipated the amount of payroll increases we can give in a year? I mean, you know, if you give someone more than 2.5%, then somebody else has got to get less than 2.5%, or you don't have enough money. So is there a, you know, in industry, they know exactly how much money they have to give to people, and if they give somebody more, they've got to give somebody else less. Do we have a defined pot of money that we don't exceed?
You have a budget.
Well, and you also have a line.
The salary reserve line.
So we have the salary reserve line that is used for unknown salary increases. So you include the increases in the departments for which you know steps and increases, and for anything that we don't know that's not negotiated by town meeting, there's a separate line item there that covers all other portions.
Exactly.
And it's capped so that you can't exceed that.
It's a budget line item, subject to moving back and forth from another line item.
Right, to a line item transfer by the Finance Committee and by this board as well as by town meeting. So if we exceeded that amount of money, right, if we exceeded that amount, we could go back and look for a line item transfer.
But you'd have to have approval. Somebody else would have to approve that.
Right.
I'd like it to be more fixed than that, personally.
And just a few announcements. The Economic Development Survey will be available to complete both, is available to complete both online and in hard copy format until March 12th. The results will be posted on the website and on the town Facebook page after March 12th and will be discussed at the Selectmen's March 20th regular meeting.
Have you had good response so far?
That one, I believe, was up to 180.
Okay. Okay, we need to get close to that 400.
That skate park group did. They got to teach us some things.
Yeah, I think so.
Charter Review Committee surveys. The results from the first survey sent out by the Charter Review Committee are on the website and town Facebook page. The second survey is still online until Monday, March 12th. And copies are available to be filled out from the library and senior center. The results will be posted on the website and town Facebook page after March 12th.
I looked at the survey results, and 82 people filled out the survey. Was that just online?
There was 82 through SurveyMonkey and 9 hard copy responses, so 91 total.
And are the links to the surveys right on the website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know I've seen them on the Facebook, but I
It's in the very public top
Okay.
part.
Okay, great.
We try to advertise that, sending the information to the paper, to get that information out, as many avenues as we can.
Eat the drum.
The complete street survey will be online and available at Town Hall, Library, Senior Center, School until March 19th. The results will be posted on the website and town Facebook page after March 19th. Open meeting law training. Town Council will be conducting an open meeting law training for all employees, appointed and elected officials on Tuesday, March 13th at 7 p.m. in this meeting room. All are encouraged to attend. This is a mandatory training for all town employees that support an elected or appointed board, committee, or commission. Replacement of poles on West Street. Unitil will begin shortly replacing the poles and conductors from West Street down to Sunny Hill Road on Leominster Road. This will take approximately 1 month to complete, and the contractor performing the work will be High Volt Lines Construction, BC.
Is there a way that we could talk with Unitil or find out about the pole right in the center that is leaning extremely? If we could have them look at that.
Yep.
Actually, there's 2 of them.
We just need the pole number.
Okay, okay. I mean, they're right out, when we were doing the walks of town buildings, it was, a lot of people were commenting on it, and I had never really noticed it before, but when I looked, I thought, oh my goodness, that's really scary. So I will try to get the poll numbers. but-
Lancaster?
No, they're right in the, they're on this side. There's one on this, they're both on this side, right?
Where are we, on Main Street?
Yeah, on Main Street. They're right on Main Street on this side of the road. No, on Mass Ave.
Mass
On
Ave.
Mass Ave.
So Unitil has a number, when I would be reporting streetlights out to the police department, they gave a number that we have the ability to report these things ourselves as well as, but I think we'll get better response if the town manager contacts.
I'm going to be up here tomorrow, so I'll try to get the poll numbers.
Okay,
And that's all I have.
thank you. First item of current business is a request for a walkability parking study and/or complete street study by MRPC.
Yes. Selectman Bertram asked for this to be on the agenda tonight, and I spoke with Brad Harris at MRPC, and it sounds like the walkability and parking study would be very applicable for the town. The complete streets, we're already in the process with complete streets and developing a prioritization plan, so that would be a duplication of effort.
So I had reached out, as I've mentioned before, at the MPO meeting, we approved the Unified Planning Work Program, and there are many communities that take advantage of that have work done and have studies done as part of the funding for that work. Under that plan, it's basically different projects in the region that are related to planning that are funded through various sources, both state and federal. So we haven't really taken advantage of the UPWP, although we've taken advantage of many other grants, and I'm very pleased to see us doing that. But there's been a lot of talk about the walkability of town center and about parking in town center, and I thought it made sense to put forward a request to consider either both of those projects or either of those projects to be incorporated in the UPWP. But time is of the essence because next month we will really be working in earnest on the TIP, and prior to next month, Brad Harris is hoping to have an identified list of projects to incorporate in the UPWP. So in order to consider those studies, he needs a letter from the Board of Selectmen requesting those studies.
It's just a letter of support.
Letter of support, right.
And you could have the chairman sign it on the board's behalf.
Yeah, right, exactly. So if we could, I think it's worth a shot to have them do a study.
Right. Do I need a motion?
I make a motion that we request a walkability parking study by MRPC.
Second?
Well, any discussion?
Well, it's a great idea.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Bertram?
Nope.
We have a Eagle Scout proclamation to sign for Owen Ray Hawker. He'll be receiving this at Court of Honor on March 10th. I was planning on delivering that unless somebody else wants to join me. And I will read it at the Court of Honor, so I don't have to read it this evening. Next item is a seasonal alcohol license renewal for Donald E. Lyons, DBA Settlers Pub, 995 Northfield Road. Information is in your packet. I believe this is one that we...
It was mistakenly approved as a annual license due to an error on ABCC's part, so it's actually a seasonal license. And the season runs April 1st through January 2nd.
Make a motion, we approve the seasonal alcohol license renewal for Donald E. Lyon, DBA Settlers Pub at 994 Northfield Road.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Discussion of removal of selectmen stipend. This is something that I put on the agenda. At the Charter Review Committee, we were talking about another position, actually it was the town clerk position, and someone mentioned that that was the only elected position in town that was a paid position. And then, of course, someone else said, well, that's not really true, the selectmen get a stipend. And I guess, since I've started in this job, I've always kind of felt that, you know, it's a small stipend, it's $100. It probably costs the town more than $100 to administer that and keep the records and do the withholding. And I know personally there's a mandatory deduction for a pension piece of that that gets eaten up by the administrative fees. So by the time the end of the year comes around, there's not even a $7 pension contribution. That there's zero pension contribution. And unless there's a reason for that historically, I was wondering if we could at least have a discussion of whether we feel it's appropriate that this be the only elected position in town that gets a stipend.
I thought someone explained to me that it had to be for insurance purposes or something, that there was a reason.
It used to be a reason so that the selectmen used to get health insurance, and then it was reduced, I don't know, by the certain amount, and you pay under a certain amount, you're not eligible for health insurance anymore. But it's not required. The selectmen, assessors used to get a stipend. A lot of this goes back to the days when the selectmen and the assessors were effectively full-time employees, and therefore they were getting paid to do their work, which now we've gone to the professional full-time employees doing the work. I think this is a good thing, and I would make a motion that we eliminate the selectmen's stipend effective with the new budget.
Second?
I guess the only thing is, you just should double check and make sure there isn't some reason, because if there's no reason, it's not much money.
Yeah, I haven't even gone down and filled the paperwork myself for this year, because I have to take time away from work to go get $100 and it's not worth it, so.
I think it's just kind of cleaner to say that we don't have any elected positions other than the one that is a full-time employee.
Yeah, no, if there's no necessity for it, absolutely.
Yeah, at one point, the selectmen did receive health insurance, and there were members of the board that were taking that insurance. There was also, I think, way back when, there was a $1,000 stipend versus the $100 stipend. But it doesn't make sense to me that we have
the other historical part was that if you earned a certain amount of salary, you were eligible to count the
That
time
towards
served towards
retirement.
the pension.
Right, toward your retirement.
On retirement system.
Right.
Obviously, none of us are here for the money, so.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's for sure.
Or the glory.
Yeah,
So all
right.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we'll make that adjustment in the budget unless we find some obscure reason that it.
Of course, we could have made a motion to transfer it to the stabilization fund, but I believe that the town manager will find an appropriate place.
Yeah, right.
Every dollar counts.
That's right.
We have minutes from the February 20th meeting, which I was not at. Any warrants? Payroll warrant in the amount of $727,213.49. Accounts payable warrant in the amount of $561,258.53.
Mr. Chairman? On the warrants, I had at one point, when the subject of the sign-off of the high school had come up, the middle high school had come up, I had asked that any expenditures related to the HVAC system or repair of ceilings, et cetera, be flagged, and I just want to make sure that is in fact happening. They're not included in the warrants without being flagged?
I will follow up on that.
Okay, I'm just leery I have not, last warrant, I went through every expenditure, but if there are expenditures related to the high school, middle school construction, I don't want those paid. So I don't know if we can sign it with that exception or how we would handle that.
I'll hold them tomorrow.
Okay.
Check with tonight with.
Okay, and if you could, moving forward until we resolve that, any expenditures?
HVAC and
Ceiling tiles.
The ceiling tiles, any expenditures related to uncompleted work.
It was also the commissioning work for the heating system? Was that the other part? that
Right,
was-
there was going to be a report, there was a lot of work that was ongoing, and I think I outlined it in an email, but basically, any expenditures related to the ongoing unresolved issues of the ceiling tiles and the HVAC system, and there was going to be, as Mr. Ebasal just said, a whole overview and a report being done by someone, and I want to understand what expenses we've incurred, but I don't want to spend any more going forward until we resolve whether or not they should be under warranty or whether or not we do have a legal case to require that work be done.
So I would say we could sign it and that the town manager hold this until, what's there?
I can read this one.
Oh, sorry. I'm ready to sign it already.
But I agree with you.
Okay.
It's the account payable warrant in the amount of $654,095.24.
Thank you.
Any action file issues? Committee reports. Mr. McQuaid.
None here.
Ms. Luck.
The school committee met on February 28th and invited citizens to weigh in on what they wanted to see in a new superintendent, which is pretty much everything imaginable. So it was an interesting discussion. The Stormwater Task Force met on March 1st. Ed Himlin, representing DCI, went over the progress of their Community Compact Grant Award project to examine and prioritize outfalls in Lunenburg to determine the ranking of the 27 outfalls out of approximately 500 in town, which have risen to the top of the needs improvement list to be upgraded. This work needs to be completed to comply with the requirements of the MS4 permit. The task force reviewed the priority ranking and changed one from medium to high.
Could you explain what an outfall is for the public?
An outfall is where you have catch basins and then the water goes out and either will go into land or it'll go directly into the lake or a stream. So it's not good if years ago they used to pave and so that it would have an easy slope right down into the lake. And we now realize that all of the pollution and sand and salt from the road goes down and pollutes the waterways. Lake Shirley is it's ranked 5 as an impaired waterway. We have to do more. The EPA and the DEP are making us do more to clean up, and so the outfalls are where sometimes many of our outfalls just go off into the woods, and the water is cleaned as it filters through the ground, and so nature does the work for us. But where the storm water takes the pollution and dumps it right into water bodies is what we're trying to correct.
Some are pipes, some are cast iron pipes, some are metal pipes, some are, as Mrs. Leck just said, some are just paved waterways, but it's basically where the water exits the storm system.
And where you have a catch basin, usually you have a mechanism that all the sediment gets dumped into a certain section and you clean out the sediment, and so only clean water, those catch basins work and only clean water goes into the waterways. So we've got 27 ranked high, medium, and low, and 9 of these sites have been identified as candidates for possible 319 grant submissions. This morning, Adam, Bernie, myself, and Mr. Ed Himlin went to the DEP to hear a presentation on, okay, if you're going to apply for a 319 permit, here's what it needs to look like. And we've set up another appointment with the DEP's regional planner who will decide who gets the awards, and to talk more about what we need to do to get one of these grants on March 20th. There was also a discussion of record keeping and reporting for the current permit and the pending MS4 permit. Matt Allison reached out to Steve Malandrinos to get a conversation going on technologically what we need to do. I reached out to Brian Doherty of MRPC, and we're going to go take a look at ways that Lunenburg could implement MRPC's data collection and cataloging application. So we're trying to get a lot done, and the task force will meet again on April 12th. That's it for me.
Ms. Bertram?
The MPO meeting, last one was on February 21st, last Wednesday. The majority of the meeting was presentation of 4 distinct projects that are going to be considered for the 2019-2023 TIP. Very interesting projects, but I won't go into detail because none of them are in Lunenburg. The pertinent to Lunenburg was there was an amendment for the current TIP for 2018-2022 TIP, which would basically consume all remaining money in fiscal 18. And one of my concerns, as you guys will recall, at our last meeting, was whether or not Summer Street, because it came in under bid, is still considered advanced construction because it was funded over a 2-year cycle. Luckily, someone there, MassDOT was unsure, but luckily there was someone there from Federal Highway, and the answer is no, it does not affect it. So we are fine. The work on the TIP will really begin in earnest in April. The Unified Planning Work Program, they're looking for projects, which hopefully we will be one of those projects. And they will be starting to do more sub-region meetings, so those will be done on a quarterly basis. So if there are things that this board would like to see discussed at one of those sub-region meetings, let Brad Harris know. After the meeting, I did let Brad Harris know that since I will not be seeking re-election, I will not be able to continue to serve on the MPO. In order to serve on the MPO, you need to be a member of the Board of Selectmen and you need to be elected. So I don't know if anyone on this board is interested. They will have to have a special election to fill my seat. So something to consider for this board, whether or not someone is willing to serve.
Does that occur after our town elections?
They will. I'm not sure the time frame, but I did let him know when our town election is. So there will be, my seat will be vacant.
Now, the MPO, your seat is served by someone from Lunenburg or Harvard?
The sub-region is Ayer, Shirley, Harvard, and Lunenburg.
Okay.
So the way that it's done is that MRPC will reach out and see what individuals in those communities are interested in running for that seat, and then there will be an actual election. So there is also the MJTC, the Montezut Joint Transportation Committee, which does not vote on the TIP, but it serves as an advisory role to consider projects. And currently a member of the planning board sits on that board. Lunenburg also has a seat on that board as a member of the Board of Selectmen or a designee. And I would potentially consider serving in that capacity if this board were willing to entertain that. So.
I'm sure we would.
Very important role that Paul has played at MPO, and it's vital to getting projects through. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The Conservation Commission was last Wednesday also, and there were a great presentation by the drone consultant group, and he really gave an overview of how drones could assist the Conservation Commission in identifying wetlands violations or construction, and how it could work with administration of the Wetlands Protection Act. There was also an interesting discussion about the police department ATV purchase, and the Matt Morrow, the conservation administrator, was suggested that the police department was looking to supplement the funding of an ATV, but someone, Matt Allison from the capital planning, spoke up and said that was fully funded through the capital plan. Is that the case? Okay. So they ended up not taking a vote on that. Most of the hearings had to be canceled because people had the flu. The LSIC did come in and gave an overview and an update on their current ongoing lake management plan and their water quality improvements that they're doing over there, including their chemical administration and their algae control. Hickory Hills landowners also made a presentation and sought approval for work at the Hickory Hills Dam, which you are all familiar with as that you've had a presentation on that, the overtopping protection to come into compliance with state regulations and the Department of Dam Safety. That was approved. And actually today, the Hickory Hills landowners did receive their approval from the state as well. So that project will be going forward, and the next issue will be an article on the town meeting warrant for that project, which will come before this board. There was a presentation by Gary Goldrup, who is the forester for the Small Town Forest Project, and he was there to answer questions and answers. Unfortunately, it was probably past 10 o'clock when that happened, so there weren't a lot of people here. But there were some concerns raised, and some from myself as a citizen, on moving forward. I think the overall forest plan was great. I think they did a great job, and there is a YouTube video. But in order to make the trails accessible again, there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen, as well as signage and mapping that needs to happen, because some of the trails have been disturbed and have to be rerouted. So that came up as a concern, and actually, what is the next plan to move forward, and hoping, the hope that some of the money that they've received, which is about, I think it's $46,000 under the small town forest, that goes back into the land. So that was raised by a resident as well as myself.
Do they have control? Does the Conservation Commission have
Absolutely.
control of that?
It's under the Conservation Commission control.
Do they have a lot of other ideas for it? Because it seems like that's a perfect thing to do.
They talked about, that they need to formulate that plan, because obviously there's a lot of Conservation Commission land that needs updates. Having walked them, and I know you have on some of the walks in the woods, there's benches that need to be done, gates that need to be replaced, painting that needs to be done. There's a lot of maintenance on conservation land that needs to occur. And so the request was, or the plea was, to put forward a plan of making that happen, and including some mapping. One of the things that I've noticed on social media is a lot of people don't know the extensive trail system that's in Lunenburg. So putting together a map outlining those places.
Having the trails cleaned up and marked so that people aren't afraid of getting lost when they're in the woods.
Exactly. There's a lot of work that could be done out there. So, and that's it for me.
I just have one question. I know the outfalls for the stormwater will improve water quality, but do the outfalls create issues with algae? Do they cause algae?
Depending on what the contaminants are. It depends. If they're bringing phosphorus into the water, absolutely.
Okay.
If they're bringing phosphorus or nitrates in, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. The only comment I have is the Charter Commission continues to make progress. I've canceled the meeting for tomorrow night because of the storm. We meet on the 14th, where we will expect to probably vote on our draft plan. We will then do the public process, and we still have the opportunity to make changes to the draft up until town meeting in May. But we expect that we will meet the target of coming up with a draft charter for the town meeting.
And the Finance Committee is continuing to work through their department budgets. Some schedule changes were made this Thursday, the 8th, assuming the weather doesn't interfere, is DPW and sewer. Thursday, the 15th, is both of the schools, the Lunenburg Public Schools and Monty Tech. That's all I have on that. Are there any other department reports that you didn't cover? No. Okay. Our upcoming meeting schedule: next Tuesday the 13th, we have our open meeting law training workshop. And as we've discussed before, on a workshop format, we will post the meeting in case there's some minor business that has to happen before the meeting, and we will videotape, but it's subject to, that's not really great viewing. We're doing it for two reasons. One is that if someone who would benefit from the training and can't attend might be able to find some use in it, but it's not the official record of the workshop. And in fact, I believe workshops are excluded from certain rules on open meeting law. But we'll find that out at the training, won't we? And then we resume our regular business meeting on March 20th. Is there any public comment from the public? Ms. Adams.
It's Katie Adams from Williams Drive, and I was trying to look it up so I'd have the information, but I didn't know if you wanted to announce the ROAR meeting for Thursday night, because I think, is it the 8th?
The which meeting?
Which meeting?
Yes, there was a,
The what?
It's
Oh, the ROAR meeting. I'm
opioid,
sorry.
there's another forum on
yeah.
Thursday night, and I
Yeah.
was trying to get the good data, but it was happened to be.
So the ROAR presentation will be at 6:30 at Lunenburg High School. Thank you.
And could you outline what the ROAR?
It's dealing with opioid and drug addiction and what families can do for it.
Thank you.
And the town caucus is?
March 12th.
Monday?
March 12th. at
Okay.
Turkey
Next
Hill
Monday.
at
Next
7.
Monday. Okay.
Any other public comment from the public? Any public comment from the board? I would accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.